not scared of you. You're a literal chihuahua, dumbass. I can snap you in two like a twig.
Excuse me? Shut it. Fatso. You should know that chihuahuas can be quite intimidating. I might be small, but don't underestimate me, sweetheart.
Fatso, I'm not fat, you little bastard. And how would a glorified handbag stand intimidatingly?
Oh please, you look like you've been eating a whole buffet every day. And don't you dare compare me to a handbag. I may be small, but I'm far from being a fashion accessory.
Listen up, you pocket-sized mutt. I will have you know that I've worked my ass off to maintain my figure, and it's certainly not due to indulging in a buffet every day. And I'm not comparing you to a handbag. I'm comparing you to a piece of dog crap.
Oh really? Because it looks like you've been indulging in more than just your perfect figure. And who are you calling a piece of crap, you oversized troll? I am far from being comparable to the likes of you.
Me? Oversized troll. Please, I'm not the one over here compensating for something. What's the matter? Insecure about your height?
Oh, police. I'm not insecure about my height. I'm just vertically challenged. Thank you very much. But at least I can fit through small spaces without needing to get down on all fours like a damn hippo.
Yeah, you can fit through small spaces because you're basically a rat, which is quite ironic, considering you're not the brightest tool in the shed.
Ow. Hey, watch it. I am not a rat, and I'm way more intelligent than you give me credit for. I'll have you know chihuahuas are known for their intelligence and loyalty.
Oh really? Chihuahuas are intelligent and loyal, huh? Then why are most of y'all so damn happy and prone to biting people?
Excuse me, but we only bite when provoked. We're fiercely protective of our families and territory, which is just part of our loyalty. And as for being yappy, well, we're just expressing ourselves. We have a lot of personality and energy packed into these small bodies.
Oh, police! I doubt being fiercely protective is the only reason for your constant yapping. And all that personality and energy you have just seems more like a desperate attempt to compensate for your lack of size. It's kinda pathetic, really.
Now listen here, you beanpole, I don't need to compensate for anything. I have more personality and charisma in my pinky finger than you have in your entire body, and my yapping is just a form of communication. It's not my fault you're too dense to understand it.
Charisma and personality in your pinky finger? Hardly. And don't even try to say that your incessant yapping is a form of communication. It's more like a cry for attention. It's pretty ridiculous if you ask me.
Shut it, you overgrown tree trunk. You have no idea what you're talking about. My yapping is not a cry for attention. It's a way of expressing my feelings. Not that you would understand, considering you're about as emotionally intelligent as a rock.
Oh really? Well, if your yapping is a way of expressing your feelings, maybe you should consider expressing them in a quieter, less irritating manner. And emotional intelligence. Honey, I've got more emotional intelligence in my little pinky than you have in your entire mud-sized body.
How dare you? You have no right to criticize my yapping or my emotional intelligence. I'll have you know that chihuahuas are deeply emotional creatures, and we deserve respect just like any other breed. And as for your emotional intelligence, let me just say, it's laughable. You're so emotionally stunted that a toddler probably has more emotional depth than you do.
Emotional creature? Please? You're more like an emotional wrecking ball with teeth. And don't even get me started on your so-called emotional intelligence. I doubt you could comprehend anything beyond "I'm frustrated." Better start yapping. And if I'm emotionally stunted, then you're emotionally
You think you're so funny, don't you? Well, let me tell you something, you condescending beanpole. I might be frustrated and yappy, but at least I'm not an emotionally barren stick in the ground. You're so cold and distant, it's a wonder you have any kind of emotional attachment to anything at all. And if I'm emotionally bankrupt, then you're emotionally destitute.
Emotionally barren stick in the ground? Please, at least I have enough emotional depth to keep myself from snapping at every other person who looks at me sideways. And if I'm so cold and distant, it's only because I don't need to rely on constant affection and validation like you do. And emotionally destitute, at least I don't get upset over every little comment that's made about me.
You have no right to judge me for getting upset over your comments, and I don't snap at everyone who looks at me sideways. I just stand up for myself. Just because I enjoy affection and validation doesn't make me weak. It just means I have a heart, which is more than can be said for you, you emotional wasteland.
Stand up for yourself, huh? More like lash out like a petulant child whenever you feel threatened. And enjoying affection and validation doesn't make you weak. Sure, but relying on it so heavily does show how insecure you are. An emotional wasteland. At least I have the emotional maturity to understand when someone is just teasing, whereas you take everything way too personally.
Oh please, don't act like you're some sort of emotional guru just because you don't understand the concept of affection and validation. And as for taking things personally, well, when someone is being as intentionally rude and hurtful as you are, it's hard not to take it personally. And emotional maturity, don't make me laugh. You've got the emotional maturity of a toddler throwing a temper tantrum.
You call this being intentionally rude and hurtful? Oh, sweet pea, you haven't seen anything yet. And emotional maturity of a toddler throwing a temper tantrum, that's rich. Coming from the one who's practically foaming at the mouth right now. And speaking of temper tantrums, have you ever tried calming down on your own? Or do you just rely on others to soothe you every time your fragile ego is bruised?
You know what? Screw you, you insensitive witch. I don't need you to tell me how to handle my emotions, and for your information, I don't rely on anyone to soothe me when my ego is bruised. I can handle it myself, but maybe if you weren't such an emotionally stunted jackass, you might actually understand how it feels to have feelings besides cold, hard indifference.
Oh, did I strike a nerve? Sensitive little thing, aren't you? And don't even pretend like you can handle your emotions yourself. I bet the first person who says something vaguely negative to you sends you running for the nearest lab to crawl into. An emotionally stunted jackass. Better than being emotionally dependent and needy like you. It must be exhausting. Needing attention and validation all the time.
Oh yeah? Well, better being emotionally dependent than emotionally devoid. At least I can form meaningful connections with people, unlike you. And I don't need attention and validation all the time. I just enjoy it. But I suppose you wouldn't understand that, since you're so busy being a cold-hearted.
Emotionally devoid? Hardly. I just don't need constant attention and validation to feel worthwhile. And if you ask me, enjoying attention and validation to the extent you do is nothing more than a desperate attempt to cover up your own insecurities. But you want to know what the difference is between you and me? I can handle feeling a little neglected, while you seem to fall apart the moment someone doesn't fawn over you like a lost little puppy.
Oh please, like you don't have insecurities of your own, everyone does, but at least I don't try to hide them behind a wall of ice. And as for covering up my insecurities with attention and validation, maybe if you tried showing a little bit of kindness and affection, you might actually understand what it feels like to be cared for. But I guess that's too much to ask of someone as emotionally constipated as you.
Insecurities of my own? Sure, I have insecurities, but unlike you, I know how to handle them without relying on others to make me feel better. And showing kindness and affection is a two-way street, honey. Why should I bother showing kindness and affection to someone who's nothing but a yappy little nuisance and emotionally constipated? Hardly. I just don't see the point in wasting time on someone who's emotionally fragile and needy like you.
Oh, so you're saying I'm not worth your kindness and affection, huh? Well, pardon me for not meeting your cold, emotionless standards, and just because I enjoy attention and validation doesn't make me needy or emotionally fragile. It just means I actually care about people and want to feel loved, but I guess that's a foreign concept to you, being that you're about as warm and fuzzy as a piece of sandpaper.
You're damn right you're not worth my kindness and affection. And enjoying attention and validation is one thing, but needing it constantly is another. It shows just how weak and insecure you really are. And don't even bother with that warm and fuzzy nonsense. I'm not here to coddle your emotional needs. I'm here to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not.
Oh, so now I'm weak and insecure just for wanting to feel loved and cared for. Well, sorry I don't meet your warped version of emotional strength. I guess I should just bottle up my emotions like you do and never let anyone in, huh? And you call yourself emotionally mature, yet you can't even show a little kindness or affection to someone who needs it. That sounds pretty emotionally stunted to me.
Weak and insecure for constantly needing attention and validation. Yes. And emotional maturity doesn't equate to coddling your feelings. In fact, I'd say I'm emotionally mature enough to tell you the truth instead of sugarcoating everything like some sappy, lovey-dovey fool, and show kindness and affection to someone who needs it. I don't see the point. Why should I show kindness and affection to someone as emotionally needy and dependent as you are?
Oh, so now I'm a fool for wanting love and affection? Well, pardon me for not being as cold and indifferent as you, and just because I need a little attention and validation doesn't make me emotionally needy or dependent. It just means I care about people and want to feel cared for in return, but I guess you wouldn't understand that, being that you're about as emotionally available as a cactus.
A fool for wanting love and affection? No, more like a fool for relying on it to feel complete. And needing attention and validation doesn't necessarily equate to dependence, but it certainly shows a lack of emotional resilience, and emotionally available as a cactus. Hardly. I'm just emotionally selective. Unlike someone who practically craves attention and validation like a starving puppy.
Oh, so now I lack emotional resilience because I like feeling loved and appreciated. Well, pardon me for not being as stoic and emotionless as you. And just because I crave attention and validation doesn't make me a needy puppy. It just means I like being cared for and shown affection, something you appear to be sorely lacking in. But I guess you wouldn't know anything about that, being that your idea of affection is a pat on the head.
As long as I get to be the alpha, I won't.